John Dee was one of the most brilliant thinkers of the 16th century. A true Renaissance man, he was at the forefront of scientific and philosophical thought in one of the great ages of learning and discovery. Dee became a key figure in the Elizabethan court and one of Queen Elizabeth's most trusted advisors. But all this was not enough. In his insatiable quest for knowledge, Dee strayed into the forbidden world of the occult.
He was trying to find the very essence of life. He was trying to find the secrets of the universe. And for John Dee, that meant communing with angels, communing with demons, risking his soul.
I seek the treasure of heavenly wisdom and knowledge. So why do they condemn me as a companion of hellhounds and a conjurer of wicked and damned spirits?
As Dee went deeper into the occult, he turned his back on Queen Elizabeth and set off on a journey that took him beyond the boundaries of religion and morality. He risked everything in his quest, and his diaries record how ultimately he became the instrument of forces beyond his control.
Angel magic, whatever Dee said, was black magic.
Dee was the model for Marlowe's Faust. Dee was the model for Shakespeare's Prospero. This is somebody who is the quintessential magician. This guy was prepared to storm heaven.
John Dee was born in London in 1527. From an early age, he was regarded as an academic genius destined for greatness. He had an insatiable desire for knowledge and spent many years locked in his study, poring over books of every kind. He mastered Latin, Greek, and Hebrew, and became adept in astronomy, mathematics, cartography, navigation, and medicine. In the 16th century, the boundaries between superstition, magic, and science were blurred. Dee's work naturally took him into alchemy and other esoteric areas. The church viewed science with a great deal of suspicion, and some even believed that mathematics was a form of black magic. It was a period of enormous change in Europe. The world was in turmoil as age-old certainties were being shattered. Those who were pushing the boundaries of knowledge risked being burnt at the stake.
Europe in the early 16th century is a place in spiritual meltdown. In one long generation, Europeans have discovered totally new continents and conquered large areas of them, invented the printing press, realized the full destructive potential of gunpowder, and at the same time, the traditional all-embracing Western church has split forever into Protestant and Catholic blocs.
When Mary Tudor came to the throne in 1553, she returned England to Catholicism, and the smell of burning Protestant flesh spread over the country. In this atmosphere of religious paranoia, Mary's half-sister, Princess Elizabeth, was kept under house arrest in Oxfordshire. Elizabeth was a devout Protestant, and she became the focus for people's hopes of an end to the persecution. Her situation was bleak. She turned to Dee for help, asking him to cast her and Mary's horoscope. The Catholic Church viewed astrology with suspicion, and in such tense circumstances, casting royal horoscopes was a dangerous undertaking.
Casting royal horoscopes in early modern Europe is one of the most dangerous things which an astronomer or astrologer can get up to. If you can actually work out what the stars are saying, it could even be you're directing the stars. You might be steering the whole thing, in which case you're actually determining when the monarch's going to live or die, which is technical high treason.
The horoscopes predicted that Elizabeth would come to the throne and enjoy a long and glorious reign. The prognosis for Mary was dire. When the horoscopes were discovered, Dee was thrown into jail. The charges read that he had endeavored to destroy the Queen by calculating, conjuring, and witchcraft.
For a while, he shares his prison with a man called Bartlett Green, who ends up one of the 300-odd Protestant martyrs made by Mary. In fact, he's actually taken away and executed while Dee is in hold. And it must have concentrated Dee's mind wonderfully on how to survive.
Three years later, Dee's astrological predictions came true. In 1558, Queen Mary died, and Elizabeth came to the throne.
The position of Queen Elizabeth at the opening of her reign is almost nightmarishly insecure. She's a young woman who's not always in good health. She almost dies 3 times over in the first 10 years of her reign. Her realm is surrounded by Catholics, and so she's an absolute sitting target for assassins in an age in which assassination is one of the most common tricks of international politics. And so for somebody like her, to have somebody who's really brilliant and can actually fathom the secrets of the cosmos is a kind of secret weapon in her arsenal, which might just give her the edge over her enemies.
Elizabeth immediately appointed Dee her royal astrologer, and asked him to choose a coronation date that would be blessed by the heavens. Dee found fame and favor under Elizabeth, and she dubbed him "my noble intelligentsia," giving him license to work in complete freedom.
She gave official sanction to Dee, pretty much declaring that anything he did was white magic, divine magic, a form of science, and putting the royal seal on that. This must have been very important, very useful for Dee.
Well, she wasn't styled the fairy queen for nothing. She encouraged astrology, magic, spectacle, and she certainly encouraged Dee.
Basically, Dee was in love with Elizabeth, as a lot of her courtiers were, but she had a strong link to him too. She clearly saw him as somebody who she could trust.
Dee lived at Mortlake on the River Thames, and there he assembled one of the greatest libraries of the 16th century. He traveled all over Europe in search of new learning. As well as books and manuscripts, he also gathered maps and the latest in navigational equipment. His knowledge of navigation helped spearhead England's great age of exploration and discovery. He even coined the expression, the British Empire.
He provided the clearinghouse at Mortlake for all the latest navigational information, which formed the basis of the great age of exploration for English mariners across the Atlantic to the New World.
Dee was not content with exploring the limits of the Earth. Inspired by men like Copernicus, he wanted to understand how the entire universe worked.
If we want to look for a comparison with Dee among 20th century figures, a figure like Stephen Hawking, internationally respected scientist, fits it to a cameo. John Dee is a mathematical whiz kid. Mathematics is the key to astronomy, astrology, navigation, chemistry, and John Dee is arrogant enough and clever enough to reckon himself the man to find the key to all these things and show the world how they work.
He was convinced there were hidden forces that govern the way the physical world works. But as the years passed, he began to despair of ever finding them.
For 40 years continually, with great pain, care, and cost, I have sought the best knowledge that man might attain in the world. I have found that neither any man living or book was able to teach me those truths I desired and longed for.
Dee has looked into mathematics, he's looked into astrology and astronomy, he's absorbed all these strands, but it still hasn't given him the thing that he wants. He now is prepared to go to the next step, which is to go deep into the occult, into hidden knowledge, in order to try to find these secrets, the very secrets of nature.
Dee was at the point of giving up his quest when he made the discovery that changed the course of his life. The Steganographia is an infamous black magic manuscript written in the 15th century. The book was written in a coded language that contained many barbarous and strange names of spirits. It was believed that these spirits were the key to a reservoir of hidden knowledge.
Nowadays we're well aware that there are unseen powers that make the world work and manipulate human beings. Apart from neutrons, protons, electrical charges, we also have viruses, bacilli, microbes. The people of John Dee's England couldn't see these things. They had some inkling they were there, and so they called them demons, spirits, and angels.
In the 16th century, everyone saw angels and demons having a direct role in their lives. There was no controversial issue about the existence of spirits and angels and demons. I mean, they existed. They were part of the universe as it was understood then. And it would almost appear slightly cracked to imagine that they didn't exist.
Dee now believed that the only way to find the answers that he was looking for was through the spirit world. But he found that he had no ability as a medium and turned to scryers for help. Scrying is an ancient occult art in which magicians use a crystal ball or mirror to take the mind out of the conscious world into the realm of the supernatural.
The logic behind it was that angels were basically intermediaries with God. If you wanted to find out the word of God, the message of God, of course, traditionally you should use the church, but in the midst of all this religious turmoil, the angels provided effectively a sort of alternative route for a direct line to God. People who were dabbling in these areas were regarded as dangerous because they might release these dangerous forces into the world through their activities.
Dee's attempts at scrying yielded nothing until a man with a notorious reputation as a black magician appeared at Mortlake. His name was Edward Kelly.
Kelly was a strange, difficult, fractious, troublesome character. I mean, as soon as he came into Dee's life, Dee became involved in something that was way beyond his control.
John Dee was somebody who was trying to find a way in to the world of the occult. When Kelly turned up, all of a sudden Dee was provided with what seemed to be a key to that door.
At the age of 55, Dr. John Dee's quest to find the secrets of the universe had led him to enlist the services of Edward Kelly, black magician, necromancer, and alchemist. From the moment that Dee and Kelly began their occult partnership, Dee's diaries describe an astonishing supernatural world opening up to them.
So you can perhaps imagine Dee, Kelly, a study full of books. What would start the ball rolling would be Kelly. He would be peering into a polished black mirror or into a crystal ball. If the ritual worked correctly, then entities would be summoned. They would then appear in the crystal to Kelly, at which point him and Dee would interrogate whatever had appeared to them.
Dee was excited and intrigued by Kelly's incredible visions. He was desperate to find out what and who these entities were.
Suddenly, this extraordinary cast of angelic characters erupted from the crystal ball that he used, from sort of coquettish young maids to these great giants with suns blazing from their eyes. Dee constantly struggled with the angels. I mean, he was constantly questioning whether or not he should believe them. He was questioning whether or not they were angels or whether in fact they were demons disguised as angels.
There are entities whose speech was so apocalyptic, so cold and beautiful and terrifying, that even to modern ears, this is scary stuff.
In this day and age we don't believe in angels, but at the time it was truly believed that spirits were behind things, and through the spirits, it was God himself was behind these spirits or angels. So Dee's not messing around here. Dee thinks he's locked into angelic communications.
During the course of what became known as the angelic conversations, 70 different spirits would appear to Kelly. Some appeared human, others monstrous and demonic. They were angels they recognized from ancient versions of the Bible, but many of the spirits, like the beautiful coquettish maiden Madimi, were mysterious and unheard of. Dee fervently recorded every last detail of the scrying sessions in his diary.
Dee was working in a world where it wasn't magic that he was doing, it was a science of angels. This is somebody approaching this unearthly territory with incredible scientific method.
And Dee was clearly bewitched by this extraordinary set of creatures that Kelly presented to him. And not only were the angels sort of interesting, they were delivering fantastic material. They seemed to be delivering some sort of coded message that would reveal the secrets of the universe.
Dee was now convinced that he was close to fulfilling his ultimate ambition, and the angelic conversations took over his life and work. Mortlake would never be the same again. Dee's young wife, Jane, detested Kelly. She believed that he was evil and that the angelic conversations would lead them to ruin.
Angel magic's an odd one. It is, despite wearing these ostentatious trappings of piety, at core black magic. In some ways, it's difficult to think of anything more blasphemous than trying to get the angels of the Lord to do your bidding.
While Dee was in the midst of his seances with Kelly at Mortlake, this extraordinary figure, this Polish prince called Lasky, turned up on the royal barge. He was doing a tour of the country at the time. And he actually managed to work his way into these seances, which was an incredibly dangerous thing to be involved in.
Lasky's presence at Mortlake was now raising grave concerns at court.
When Elizabeth was trying to steer a very careful course through European politics, when her rivals were far more powerful and were all Catholic, meant that almost certainly Dee's association with Lasky meant he was being followed, he was being watched. They were wondering if an influential character like Dee, who, remember, still had this kind of dubious reputation in the popular mind, was involved in something he shouldn't be.
Informers working for Elizabeth's chief spy master, Sir Francis Walsingham, now had Mortlake under constant surveillance. The atmosphere there grew increasingly tense as the angel Madimi revealed, through Kelly, that Walsingham was plotting Dee's downfall.
Madimi appeared to us and said, "They will shortly lay a bait for thee. They are determined to search your house. They hate thee. Trust them not."
In Mortlake, things become more and more paranoid, and they're fearful of spies in England. And Madimi, their angel, is telling them that they must leave and they must follow Lasky, who will be their patron, and they will be able to pursue the language of the angels over in Poland.
He knew how dangerous it was to be involved in the kind of activities that him and Kelly were involved in, and he carried on with them. He risked everything for this.
There was a great tempest of wind at midnight as we left Mortlake with our wives and children toward 2 ships waiting for us near Gravesend.
So Dee decides to up and leave, take his family, and on the words of Madini, go to Poland. And if he does this, the angels have promised him great secrets are going to be revealed. I mean, this is an amazing thing for him. It's a lifetime, a one-time opportunity to try to find out why we're here, how things work, why they work, and the angels have promised him that. So yeah, of course, you're going to go along with what the angels say. Why wouldn't you?
As soon as Dee left Mortlake, a mob descended upon the house, and his library and alchemical laboratories were ransacked. For Dee, Kelly, and their families, there was no going back. After an epic 6-month journey, Dee and Kelly finally arrived in the Polish capital, Krakow. As soon as they got there, they began scrying again, and the angelic messages were delivered with even greater intensity. It seemed to Dee that his unshakable faith in the angels was about to be rewarded.
They are told that there's something, a powerful message is going to be dictated to them. The first angel begins to talk to them about a lost book of Enoch, which is the language of the angels, the original language spoken by Adam before the fall.
The angel told us, "I will open to thee the secrets of nature and the riches of the world. Many thousand secrets in which you are still yet but children."
This was the same language that was revealed to Enoch, who in biblical tradition was the first person to speak with God after the fall of man. The language, it is said, is the power by which we were all made, by which nature was framed and the whole universe was constructed. It is the very mathematics, it is the very framework of all the mystery of all creation.
Dee believed that the language he was about to receive would be the key to unlocking the secrets of the universe. Letter by letter, the dictation of the Enochian language began. After months of scrying and hundreds of hours looking into the crystal ball, the angels revealed what appeared to be a completely new language.
The Enochian language is designed to express the primal essence of things. When it's spoken, it's supposed to be spoken from the stomach, for using a magical voice. It's a very barbarous and rich-sounding language. Gahe istiva kahizami mikelizodu. Spirits of ye fourth angle are 9, mighty in the firmament of the waters.
The Enochian language is based on an alphabet of 22 letters. The language has its own words, grammar and syntax, and resembles no known tongue. Although some scholars have compared it to Hebrew, attempts to discover its origins have been unsuccessful.
To suppose that this is an invented language, invented by Kelly, you would have to suppose that Kelly was some sort of creative and linguistic genius who was able to spontaneously invent a functional working language complete with grammar and vocabulary, and not only invent it, but invent it backwards.
With the dictation of the Enochian language complete, the angels set Dee an extraordinary test.
And as he's receiving this angelic data very, very fast, and he can hardly keep up, all of a sudden, out of the blue, Medimi says that he has to go and see Rudolph II, the most powerful man, the ruler of Bohemia and of the Holy Roman Empire. And he has to go and tell him that he is possessed, he's an evil man. It's like a death sentence if he goes.
Dee had already given up everything in England in his thirst for hidden knowledge. But was his belief in the angels strong enough to carry out this suicidal mission? In August 1584, John Dee made his way to Prague to confront the Holy Roman Emperor.
So he was effectively an enemy, and this enemy figure went into the very heart of the enemy territory, to the seat of power in Prague.
In the 16th century, the Holy Roman Empire was a vast kingdom that covered a large part of northern Europe. The empire was ruled by Rudolf II, a notoriously enigmatic and volatile man. Rudolf was a great patron of alchemists and indulged his passion for the bizarre with his own personal regiment made up entirely of dwarves. The Holy Roman Empire was vital to Rome in the uneasy balance of power between the Catholic and Protestant churches.
This is Rudolf's palace. This is the very church that Dee would have had to walk past on his way to the confrontation with Rudolf. And this gives you an idea of the power of the church, the money and the power that it has. And this is what he's taking on. Dee is a heretical Protestant, and he's about to give a message to Rudolf that he's been asked to give by the angels, and this is a lethal thing to do. His back is right up against the wall now. He's probably shaking in his shoes. He's terrified for his own family.
The angel of the Lord hath appeared to me, and rebuketh you for your sins. If you will not hear me, the Lord will sweep you off the face of the earth, and you shall perish miserably.
And the message he has to say is that Rudolf is an evil man, that he has demons around him, and that if he doesn't listen to Dee and the angels and what they have to say, that God will put his foot on Rudolf's breast and push him off his throne. But if he does listen to the angels, then he will become a supreme emperor and will overcome the devil.
He is a man going into very much the lion's den of Roman Catholicism and saying, you must live and rule according to the revelation that I have. Here we see Dee in the role as prophet. Here we see Dee as a man convinced of his mission and willing to put his life on the line to deliver that message.
Rudolf was both astounded and intrigued by Dee's speech. Whilst Dee waited anxiously for the Emperor's reaction, the angels became impatient, ordering Dee to deliver a new message to Rudolf.
It was obvious that some new PR strategy was needed on behalf of the angels. It was at this point that the angels apparently suggested to Dee that the Philosopher's Stone would be enough of a crowd puller to get people like Rudolf on their side.
When Edward Kelly first arrived at Mortlake, he had a small bag of red powder that he said had been stolen from an ancient site at Glastonbury. He believed it to be the vital ingredient that would help make the Philosopher's Stone.
The Philosopher's Stone being the formula that would basically give the person who had it the alchemical means of turning base metal into gold, but also any form of sort of purification, indeed the secret of life, effectively.
This Philosopher's Stone was a world-changing concept. The Philosopher's Stone was the H-bomb. If you had the Philosopher's Stone, you had complete financial and thus military superiority over every other nation in the world.
Rudolf chose to ignore Dee's ominous prophecy, but the prospect of finding the Philosopher's Stone proved irresistible. He decided to allow Dee and Kelly to set up an alchemical laboratory in Bohemia. Dee and Kelly set about trying to produce gold. The dream of finding the Philosopher's Stone had been an obsession in Europe for centuries. With advances in chemistry and metallurgy, the belief that it might be possible to make gold from base metal reached a fever pitch in 16th century Bohemia. Český Krumlov was one of the great centers for alchemy, and some of the original alchemical materials still survive.
This has to be the part of the building where they were. Oh, all kinds of stuff in here. Oh my goodness, look. These are definitely alchemical. This is
Some sort of scroll? Or?
scroll. It's got symbols here.
Oh wow, look at that. Definitely a magical text then.
Yeah.
Yeah, look,
Oh,
it's definitely,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
There's a magical spell there.
Yeah.
Satora.
Yeah, let's see, Arapo
Yep.
here, Opera
Yep.
here.
Rotas at the bottom.
Sator,
Yeah.
Sator Rotas.
Yes.
And something to do with Solomon's key.
Oh, Key of Solomon.
Oh my goodness, what is this?
What's that? That's definitely powder, isn't it?
Definitely a powder. This could be the very powder that they were using to produce gold 500 years ago.
What, in their experiments?
Here in Bohemia, yeah.
Wow.
They truly believe they could make gold, yes. And
Rumors that the famous Dr. Dee had found the secret of the Philosopher's Stone spread across Europe like wildfire.
You can see why people like the Tsar in Russia would have been offering Dee and Kelly a fortune to go and work as the Russian alchemist. You can see why Elizabeth herself was getting nervous, was worried in case Dee and Kelly were out there creating gold for foreigners, in which case she was insistent that they be returned home to create gold for England.
Throughout this period, the angelic conversations continued. The angels repeatedly told Dee that he would soon be given the key to using the Enochian language. When the Pope heard that Dee was being granted audiences with Emperor Rudolf, he sent spies to investigate.
The Catholic authorities in particular did not regard Dee as some sort of dodgy sorcerer who had just come in and was trying to make trouble. Papal authorities saw Dee basically manipulating Rudolf in a way that would be dangerous to their own needs, their own tactics.
The Pope's spies reported back to Rome that Dee was an important and dangerous adversary and the author of a new heresy, predicting that Rome was about to fall.
Anybody who claims to have God's personal mobile number is a tremendous threat to the established church. The church, in spiritual terms, is a collection of middlemen. If you had an entire population who were capable of communicating with spiritual forces for themselves, then popes, priests, cardinals, bishops, all of these would have been redundant. That was the threat that John Dee posed to the religious authorities. Anybody who had information or knowledge which didn't fit with the established orthodoxy was cruising for a bruising.
Pope Sixtus, determined to get rid of Dee at any cost, presented a document to the emperor accusing Dee of being a black magician. Papal ambassadors made repeated demands to question Dee, and they tried to seize the heretical books of angelic conversations. Finally, the Pope demanded that Dee and Kelly come to Rome.
Being asked questions by the Inquisition was seldom a comfortable position to be in, not least because the entire process could quite easily end up with you being barbecued.
They refused to go to Rome, but Pope Sixtus finally forced Emperor Rudolf to expel Dee and his family from the Holy Roman Empire. They were given 6 days to get out of the empire and fled Prague in fear for their lives. Expulsion from the Holy Roman Empire once again saw John Dee, Edward Kelly and their families on the run. With nowhere to go and no prospects of patronage, things were looking desperate when they received word that a nobleman from southern Bohemia requested their alchemical services. Even more surprising, Emperor Rudolf had sanctioned the arrangement.
The relief that John Dee must have felt after being persecuted, kicked out, the Pope's after him, he's got nowhere to stay, his family's stuffed into 2 carriages with all his books and possessions, and finally he's allowed to find sanctuary here in Trebon, in Rosenberg's castle. Elizabeth I wasn't a real patron to John Dee. He wasn't funded enough to pursue his experiments and his science. For the first time, this is a safe haven for them. It's a sanctuary.
Rudolph II was under extreme pressure from the Pope, but believed that Dee and Kelly were on the verge of finding the formula of the Philosopher's Stone. He did not want to openly defy the Pope, and secretly installed them in alchemical laboratories in the town of Trebon, 100 miles south of Prague. The pressure was now on to produce gold, and Kelly wanted to devote all of his energy to alchemy. He became increasingly reluctant to enter into the angelic conversations that he felt were leading nowhere. Dee wanted more than material wealth, and refused to let go of what he saw as a greater prize. He had risked everything for the angels. Along with the Enochian language, they had revealed to him what appeared to be an entire magical system. He believed that once the angels gave him the key to these things, all would be revealed to him. Time after time, he forced Kelly back to the crystal to continue with the angelic conversations.
He pushes Kelly almost to exhaustion. They're scrying for 10 hours a day, and Kelly suffers because of this. He gets headaches, he gets pangs in his stomach, he hears voices in his head. He even has wheals on his arm, which he says demons have given him through attacks. It's a dangerous task because also the angels could be demons.
You were looking at the world in the glass probably more often than you were looking at the world outside the glass. You can see how that could take you mentally into some very dangerous territory indeed. He was suddenly plunged through a trapdoor in Elizabethan logic into this world.
Many, many times he recorded his own body inflamed, engulfed in flame, his mind burning, his body burning. Many times he struggled with the revelation, trying to understand more deeply, but at the same time terrified of what he was experiencing.
Kelly knew it was black magic and got cold feet on this account on a number of occasions. And it was always Dee who talked him round. Indeed, there are a number of occasions when Kelly's visions took on a demonic, hellish character, and this didn't seem to trouble Dee at all.
Edward Kelly was in a reality where he was working with this psychopath. This guy was prepared to conjure all the forces of heaven and hell.
The angelic conversations were becoming increasingly sinister. The angel Madimi seemed now to have lost her innocence and, according to Kelly, began to showeth her shame.
Right in the middle of all of this, something extraordinary happens. It's just absolutely off the map. If everything else has been extraordinary, this is off the map. They carry on the angelic conversations here, and it takes a very sinister and very strange twist, because Madimi, their spirit guide, their angel, makes a request. They get asked to do something very bizarre.
Madimi appeared, and she said, "Nothing is unlawful which is unlawful unto God. One committing adultery on my behalf shall be blessed eternally, and given a heavenly reward."
The angels, or Madimi, reveals herself naked in the crystal and says that they have to cross-match with each other's wives. Dee and Kelly have to swap wives. Now, this is a terrible thing. Jane Dee detests Kelly. Poor Jane cries for 15 minutes. She won't do it. Kelly's not happy. He thinks they're in league with demons. Really, it must seem like they are now, to be asked to do such a terrible thing. But for Dee, it's a final test for him to get the secrets of nature at the end of this. He will reach the next level, go to the next stage.
The test seemed to be an affront to the laws of God, and it shook Dee to the core. He had risked everything for the angels, but was he now prepared to risk his soul?
And he battles against it, and he says he won't do it, and he says he can't do it, and then he gives in. And ultimately, he becomes the instrument of the angels. Ultimately, they take him over, and he does everything that they tell him to do.
So here, they draw up a contract after 2 days that they all solemnly sign, and they do go ahead and recorded in Dee's diary, the pact is fulfilled.
I can see there is no other remedy but for our cross-matching. So it must be done. I offer my soul as a pawn.
There is something very empowering about the breaking of taboo. Certain sex practices are seen as being able to enhance magical awareness, to put you into a different state of consciousness. Laying there in a room, listening to your wife have sex with your business associate and magical associate while you were laying there with their wife, this very real physical act might have been a step too far. This was as far from theory as it could possibly get.
So there's actually much more going on spiritually than just some wife swapping here. They're not just swingers, they're sinners. And in Renaissance Europe, that really is tampering with eternity.
But it spells the absolute end of Dee and Kelly. Nothing is the same again. It changes everything, and the angelic conversations come to an end.
For Dee, the wife-swapping did not produce a great revelation, and after 7 years of tireless scrying, Kelly finally freed himself of Dee and the angelic conversations. He devoted himself to alchemy and was invited to work directly for Rudolf in Prague. Suddenly, Kelly appeared to have found the secret formula of the Philosopher's Stone. He became famous throughout Europe. He was made a baron, given a castle, and lived a life of outrageous success.
He's personally working with Rudolf II on alchemical experiments, making gold. He seems to be able to make gold, and people witness it, they see it, and word spreads like wildfire. Even right the way back to England, Elizabeth I sends out spies to come over and try and get Kelly back.
Kelly's fall was as swift as his rise. He was unable to produce unlimited quantities of gold, and Rudolf threw him in prison. Was it because Rudolf realized that he'd been the victim of a clever con trick, or that Kelly refused to reveal his secret formula? No one will ever know the truth, as Kelly died attempting to escape from prison.
Although we never really know the truth about Kelly's death, Dee does mention him in his diary as a small entry. He just says, Kelly is slain. This extraordinary relationship, this partnership, the greatest occult partnership ever, is finally come to an end.
With Kelly's death, the angelic conversations were at an end. The promises of the angels had come to nothing, and Dee's dream of finding the secrets of the universe was over. Dee returned to England in 1589. Queen Elizabeth had lost interest in her noble intelligentsia, and Dee was desperately short of money. The final blow came when his wife Jane gave birth to a boy, the product of her unholy union with Kelly.
What was passing through Dee's mind in those last days? Did I get it wrong? Did I think that they were saying to me something that was just me, was just my hopes and fears projected? Were they ever there at all?
Dee never questioned the validity of his angelic actions, in the sense that he never thought he'd just been defrauded by Kelly, that he'd been strung a line. He believed in them right to the end. He buried his papers or hid them in secret drawers in chests. That's how they were found subsequently. He did so because he wanted the message to be carried on into future generations.
Dr. John Dee died in 1608. He never deciphered the Enochian language, but it formed the basis of a magical system that continues to be practiced by occultists. The language's origin and what happened between Dee and Kelly during the angelic conversations remains a mystery.
Dee has suffered a lot at the hand of history. You could say he backed the wrong intellectual horse. Certainly few people today are interested in angel magic outside of the fringes of the occult. I think we should remember him as someone who was willing to risk everything to know, someone for whom the pursuit of knowledge was worth risking his body, his immortal soul, his reputation, everything.
All Dee wanted to find was the truth, the paths he went down, the extraordinary lengths he went to, and what is left is inexplicable. It's an enigma, it's a mystery. But in the end, Dee did it because he wanted to find out the real truth behind everything.
Today, no one believes that angels can provide the answers to the secrets of the universe. But modern science has shown that Dee's instincts were fundamentally correct. Scientists have now discovered that there are unseen forces that govern the physical world.
We are surrounded by ugliness and war and inhumanity and squalor. We perhaps all have feelings that things should be better than this, that there is something beneath the skin of reality that would make sense of all this. And you can certainly see what an attractive vision that is, how it might be worth sacrificing everything for just the slimmest chance of that heaven-opening possibility.
The return of the mighty solar power.
Hail Ra! Hail Mithras!
Very important.
Thousands of years.
Yes, it's in the genes of mankind. It's very important. Many people don't realise, but when they set up a Christmas tree in their house, they're actually inviting the tree spirit to reside with them for that particular period. And of course, it should be done with due ceremonial. And when you deck it out, you're making offerings to it. Well, the Yule log, of course, is bound up in the religion of witchcraft. There is also the practice of magic. And magic is a power. It's an abstract power. It's the power of genius and creativity which courses through the universe. It's nothing at all secular. It can be applied by anyone. And magic is the method or the technique whereby you apply that formula. The power is a natural power. It's one that anybody can use. It actually holds you up. Magic is the intensive creative power which gives you thought, gives you reason to be. It's not secular at all. So therefore, the application of it is a question of technique rather than belief. Once you understand that magic does work, you can use it for all facets. The Sorcerer's Apprentice is a mail-order concern which deals with spiritual access. People who are involved in the search for self come to us for all manner of ingredients, books, paraphernalia, to expand themselves and to find out their own true spiritual potential. Anybody who's involved in any aspects of the search for self, of spirituality and development of psychic powers, will need to use a crystal at some time or another. If people want to be evil, then they can be evil, and of course they will be evil whether or not they're connected with occultism. If somebody is a psychotic, then they will always be psychotic. On the other hand, the very small amount of ill that is done, when it's weighed against the potentials that are available through occult study and technique, is just such a fractional percentage that it's not worth really bothering about.
How did this business all start?
Well, I mean, I've been into occultism all my life, virtually. It's almost a hereditary thing. But 11 years ago, people started asking me to produce incenses for them because I had spent the previous 6 years in the depths of the British Museum ensuring that I could build up a formula pile of incenses, some of which came from manuscripts which were thousands of years old. So having invested all that time and effort, people thought that it would be easier for them to pay me to do incenses for them, rather than go through the same 6 years of study. And that's how it began.
Now you've branched out from incenses into all this.
That's right, yes. We do books, an awful lot of books being the main part of the sale, and tarot cards, crystal balls, and everything else that a budding magician or witch need. In modern times, people tend to look upon spirituality as though it is an accessory to life, when inside they know that it is the most important thing that there is. Witchcraft, to the majority of people on the outside, tends to smack of Satanism, which it is not. The actual religion of witchcraft is based on the universal religion of paganism, which is at the root of all civilizations. It's a prehistoric religion, and that gives us the sustenance to continue by linking in with the planetary and seasonal cycles and becoming at one with the planet. So most people involved in witchcraft tend to be ecologically minded. They tend to love animals and also be gregarious and willing to help and serve others. And that's as far removed from the image of Satanism as you could get. There are people in creation, there must be room for them, for all potentialities. It's unfortunate that they do exist, who are more inclined towards the sinister aspects of magic, towards the darker aspects, primarily because it gives them either a vicarious thrill or an excuse for their own sexual abnormality. There's nothing wrong with that, providing they do not harm another. But unfortunately, because most of them are exhibitionists, they tend to be the ones that the newspapers get hold of, and that's the image that's been presented of occultism generally. Christmas was an assumption of a feast on that date. Obviously what happened was ancient man, prehistoric man, who held the faith of paganism, of course, realised that the sun was at its lowest ebb at this time of year, and you know, by propitiating it with this ritual, they could rebirth the sun for the next year. So really it's an astronomical thing. But of course, built on top of that, you have the various civilizations since prehistoric man who have made it a little bit more formal. The last of which was the Christians, who took over to the 25th as Christ's birthday.
So the 25th of December was always a very festive day, going back
very important.
Thousands of years.
Yes, yes, it's in the genes of mankind. It's very important.
And what's business like?
Extremely good. There's an increase in interest in this type of thing, and that's all to the good. Most people find that if they have a need, that magic can assuage that need for them. And if it doesn't find an immediate answer, it will certainly give them something which is very permanent in their lives. Some people look upon it as a religion, pagans for instance. Other people look upon it as a kind of creative force which they can manipulate for their own ends. And of course that's equally as valid.
It's a full-time business.
Oh yes, yes, I have 6 people who work with me full-time to help with processing all the orders.
Registered for VAT and...
well, yes, we have the whole bit. We look upon our responsibilities professionally. All our bona fides are there, and we ensure that we come up front. In fact, in many instances, we outstrip many of the very large mail-order firms in service and personal attention.
If I asked for example for a spell kit from this catalogue to ripen injustice, or a spell kit to win favour, spell kit for love's desire.
Yes, well, these are, you know, regular spell kits that we do, and they've been very successful. Basically what we do is we put everything into one box that an accomplished occultist
Could you
would not
show
make.
me?
Yes, I have one on display over here. Yes.
Show me how it works.
You have a complete altar spread. You appeal using the green candles to the goddess Venus. In actual fact, what you're drawing is you're drawing Venusian power down. You use the incense to draw the power. There's a purification bath here which you start with in the first place so that your aura is completely clear. And then, by a process of actually consecrating these dolls, after they have been consecrated, you then bind them together using this cord.
Show me how you do it.
Well, it's quite complex, but basically what happens is that once you've actually personified the dolls, and that's how they should look before they go ready for binding, the cords are wrapped round, there is a spell to say as each knot is tied, and then once the knots are tied, the power draws them inexorably together, and the spell is complete.
So you'd say, this is me and this is...
That's right, yes. Each particular, yes, the dolls personify in miniature, in microcosm, exactly the people that are supposed to be bound together in the love spell. As long as the knots are tied, and the 2 people will stay together. If the knots are undone, then of course the magic breaks.
So if somebody wanted to fall in love with a second set of persons, they'd have to get a second kit?
Not necessarily, but they'd certainly have to cut the cords to start with. Yes, to undo their own magic. I mean, this is the responsibility in magic, of course. You've got to know your own mind before you actually start out doing it.
You're a witch yourself?
Yes, I am. Yes, yes. For many, many years. Fully initiated. You see, witchcraft is looked upon by many people from the outside, and so there's been so many exposés in the Sunday papers that people tend to have an awry view of it. I mean, the people who keep their heads down and do serious work with the creative intelligence, which is how witches view the power of magic, are the people that you don't see in the newspapers, invariably. And paganism, which is a resurgence of the religion of witchcraft, is very much the fore these days, because people can find in it, New Age people can find in it, all that they need as a philosophy for life. It's nature worshipping, it's life loving, it belongs to the planet, it gives respect, ecological respect to the planet and to people individually.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand how it sort of, it can be popular as one step into fantasy, but in a rational scientific world, how do you explain it?
Well, it doesn't have to be rational. I mean, the age of rationalism, of course, is only a passing phase. The thing is, of course, that witchcraft and belief in magic is something which is inherent in the genes of mankind. And so, therefore, it is at our primeval roots, and everybody believes, whether intellectually they say they don't or not, they do believe in a force which, for the want of a better word, we call magic. Of course, it's sympathetic magic. What you're doing is you're restarting the sun on its track back. And the ancient believed that they could encapsulate the quality of fire within the Yule log. And by keeping a piece of the Yule log until the following year, they ensured good harvests, good crops, and general well-being amongst the tribe. And,
You got Tibetan Book of the Dead, Chris?
Yes, sir. Let's stick an order down for it.
Yeah.
As a magician, we talk about several lifetimes because we don't believe that a soul begins and ends in one lifetime. We believe in reincarnation. There is a way to rich wealth and possessions. It's a question of direction and concentration of energies. But of course, there is a level at which you have sufficient, and that sufficiency is given by karma. But essentially, there's an awful lot of work that is done on Samhain. It's an important time. That's the occult name for All Hallows Eve. And it's a very important time of year, occultly, because the psychic tides interchange then. And if there's any divination to be done or any magical work to be done, such as invocation or evocation, then it's very successful at that time. So any occultist worth his salt will be employed in ritual on October the 31st. This is one of the most popular items that we do. It's a love spell kit. As you can see, it's quite complex. These are the instructions that go with it, the step by step. But essentially speaking, what you're doing is making two poppets, male and a female here. Drawing down angelic power using these candles. You go and anoint the candles beforehand to charge them, and then you use incense to draw down the god power. In this instance, it's goddess power because you're working with the goddess Venus. You bind the dolls with the binding cord. You use 7 knots in there. Now, as soon as you've done that, until the knots are tied, then the energies will work and inextricably draw the people together. And this spell has been used time after time after time. And although it's not absolutely 100% successful, nothing ever is, the percentage rate of success is very high indeed. I mean, obviously, if you talk about candle magic, the most basic kind of thing is birthday cake magic, where you blow all the candles out on your birthday cake and you, immediately you've performed a magical ceremony. It's very basic magic, but it is also very effective because it works with karma. We do healing spells, for instance, healing rituals, which are very worthwhile. We do getting a job ritual, which is quite purposeful, house selling spell kits, and so on. In fact, every basic need that people have.
Chris Bray.
Would you allow your son to come to witchcraft?
Well, of course not, no.
Well, then, why deny us that facility, that freedom?
We are not.
In reverse.
May I come in there? We're not denying you that facility or that freedom. Every man has a free choice to declare his own destiny and find his own destiny. But Jesus Christ has said that when Satan speaks...
Jesus Christ is a prophet. There are many prophets.
There are
many prophets.
Yes, there's one prophet. Can I speak? Can I finish this?
Please do.
Jesus Christ said that when Satan speaks, he speaks his own native language, which is a liar. And he's been a liar.
Okay. I have 25,000 very close acquaintances, clients who I supply.
I have thousands of Christians who hold to the same truth.
Of course, and on a head count, we should all be buddies because they have the majority.
We're not going to
we're not going to get anywhere on that basis, are we?
We're not going to get very far talking about numbers.
This is a pretty spooky place, let me tell you. I don't know he or she is a friend of yours. We're going to go in and find out, though, what's going on here. But just in case, I've got some insurance. A clove of garlic. Follow me. Well, this is probably one of the busiest shops that stock all kinds of paraphernalia if you're interested in black magic. The proprietor, himself a witch, is Chris Bray. How are you, Chris? Is it safe to shake your hand? Good. Now, Chris, come a little closer, lean across here and tell me, how on earth did you get into this sort of thing in the first place?
Oh, I was involved from a very early age. Inside myself, I was looking for a connection with the goddess, with the planet, and I couldn't find it in any established religion.
Why did you decide to go into what people call black magic rather than Christianity?
Well, it's not black magic, it's magic. All of magic is magic. There's no black or white about it.
So what about these things about black witches and white witches?
Well, it's usually pundits which use the term black magic and white magic, white witch and black witch. It just doesn't exist. There is magic. It's a creative force. It's a force for good and evil, but to be able to manipulate it, the commitment is so great that those people collect wisdom sufficient to not use it for distasteful purposes. So most efficient witches are what normal people would call white.
But I mean, some people use it for the wrong reason, don't they? You've got things here like whips and flails.
They may use it for the crack. They may use it as a front, but they cannot use the true power of magic unless they actually pursue a particular path of magic and learn the technique, which takes a long time.
I noticed a book over there coming in about sexual perversions and things like that.
No, not about sexual perversion, sexual magic.
That's it, sexual magic.
Yes. Well, of course, we're all the result of sexual magic.
On this particular theme, I was concerned about all these leather thongs over here, tying people up and stuff like that. I mean, what happens there?
No. I mean, the cords over there are used for tying people up on this side. And basically, during initiation, the neophyte, the probationer's hands are tied behind him and then released as a symbol of his freedom, of his newfound level of awareness and altered consciousness. So that's the only binding that occurs.
Well, when you've bound them, you have all manner of knives and swords. What do you do with them, for goodness sake?
You don't do what you're inferring that you do with them. This is a knife, and it's a damn good knife at that. And it's used for what knives are always used for. It's used for cutting. It's a tool.
But if a youngster came in off the street, maybe 14, 15, young man, and wanted to buy one of those?
We don't sell to people under 18.
You don't?
No. I mean, we never have done, either by mail or in the shop. And that's not particularly because there aren't kids of 16 and 17 who are responsible enough to be able to cope with what the occult offers, but principally because we get a lot of stick from the media if we did so.
Quite right, we do.
Yes.
Let me just, you hold on to your your what's it there. Let me get one of these, because these come in both sexes, don't they? Here we are. Let's have a look at this. This is it, is it? What do I do with that then? If I get one of those.
Well, this is the basic wax image doll. It's impregnated with accumulator, herbal accumulator, and it's also sexed with herbs, corresponding gems and minerals, so that it's really ready to activate by tradition. And what you need to do is you need to make the doll look like the person whom you're working on. It's basic sympathetic magic.
Not because you're a sinner, not because you're some kind of blasphemer, not because you're an atheist, not because you're a bastard, not because you're a liar, not because you're a thief. You have only one reason, because you will not come to me, says Jesus, that you might have life.
I do not want children getting involved in witchcraft, whether it's paganism or whether it's black witchcraft, and that's why that stands in my new clause.
What do you feel about people like Jeffrey here who have been, I'm giving your craft, I suppose, quite a lot of bad publicity
Yes, I think I must dissociate myself from the horrific allegations of Mr. Dickens. Because the people in the craft today are very marvellous people. They are people you find everywhere, in every walk of life.
But
and not only here, but in America, in Australia, in Europe, everywhere. Many, many thousands of people.
Yeah, but are there people, do you think, who are using the craft perhaps as a front for other things?
No, not the genuine craft, no. Because a person is 2 years before they're initiated, easily.
But what I object to is children, minors, being ensnared and corrupted and enticed into witchcraft, which I think is totally unhealthy and is leading to many years.
No.
But I must say this, that she has nothing to fear from me, and nor do the genuine pagans. I don't approve of them because they're not in my religion, but that's a different thing altogether, not approving. No, it's not. No, I disapprove.
There's hundreds of religions in the world, and of course there's lots of religions in England have been put across onto the occult, onto the old religion, because there's so many priests of the Christian church being found guilty of child abuse over the last 2 years, and also through the last few months, actually. And yesterday there was about 4 in the paper.
Well, what I'm seeking to do is to put a new clause in the criminal justice laws at the moment to stop children participating or being present or joining in any ceremonies concerning Satanism, devil worship or witchcraft.
Would you attend my Covenstead and come to one of my meetings? Would you take that invitation?
I probably wouldn't, because I'm a Christian and I very much disapprove of what you stand for. You are anti-Christ.
No, this is where you're wrong.
Simple reason. You are a secret society.
No.
Now, the Church of England,
No.
you can go to Sunday school, you can go to Bible classes, you can go to choir practice, you can see what the children are doing and what the churches are up to. We cannot in the case of those that I've named in my clause.
You see, we've seen a film clip from the Sorcerer's Apprentice or Astonishing Books, and they have this massive mail order following right throughout the country. And this sort of thing is happening in America, France, Australia, and right throughout the United Kingdom. So these things are happening, and you can't say that.
Like many other Satanists, bought books and satanic artifacts from this shop in Leeds. It's the biggest of its kind. Proprietor Chris Bray has admitted in the past they do.
Unfortunately, there are people who are more inclined towards the sinister aspects of magic, towards the darker aspects, primarily because it gives them either a vicarious thrill or an excuse for their own sexual abnormalities. So there's nothing wrong with that, providing they do not harm another. Witchcraft to the majority of people on the outside tends to smack of Satanism, which it is not. The actual religion of witchcraft is based on the universal religion of paganism, which is at the root of all civilizations. It's a prehistoric religion, and that gives us the sustenance to continue by linking in with the planetary and seasonal cycles and becoming at one with the planet. So most people involved in witchcraft tend to be ecologically minded. They tend to love animals and also be gregarious and willing to help and serve others.
3 years on, Bray did refuse to be interviewed and threatened legal action when asked to explain his part in the current promotion of Satanism.
We're being filmed from the inside, gentlemen. If you look through there, there's a Sanyo video camera being aimed at us.
We wanted to question Bray about his publication, The Lamp of Thoth, which has carried want ads for dead bodies, advocating sacrificial murder, and is the platform for Michael Aquino's new British recruiting drive. Bray called the police to hold us at bay, while he and his staff, in Halloween disguise, made their escape.
Mr. Bray, we'd like to talk to you about the business. about the kinds of activities you promote. We'd like to talk to you about articles promoting murder, witchcraft, advertisements calling for dead bodies. There are many people who get into this disgusting business who wouldn't do so without you, Mr. Bray. What a pathetic display.
How do you actually celebrate yourself Christmas Day?
We enjoy ourselves very, very greatly. We drink copious quantities of this liquid here as an example. Bacchanalian brew, just for you, Richard.
Bacchanalian brew, what exactly is this?
Well, it's a mix of all kinds of herbs and wine.
What does it do?
Very potent indeed.
What does it do?
Some say it's a fertility.
It's a fertility potion?
It can be done.
A pagan fertility potion?
Yes.
I think I should be needing this. Cheers. So that's how Christmas started. It was a pagan festival thousands and thousands of years ago. Bet you didn't know that, Robert. Robert? Robert! It's been difficult to get through to TV reporters across the centuries, isn't it?